Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into the space industry
Ooh, fun.
in 2025.
Okay.
Um, and we've got this really awesome guide from the SpaceInfo Club.
I love that club.
Yeah, they do really great work.
Yeah.
Basically, they're like trying to get everybody up to speed with like what's happening in the space
Yeah,
industry.
it seems like there's a lot happening.
Yeah, so much is happening so fast.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to do this deep dive because I'm like, I really want to understand like
Yeah.
what are the big trends?
Right.
Who are all the players?
Totally.
What are the opportunities? Because
Where can we get involved?
yeah, exactly. And it just
Uh-huh.
seems like space is like more accessible now than ever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's
Trends.
such an exciting time for the space industry.
Yeah.
We're seeing this like huge shift
Mm-hmm.
from like just governments
Right.
running the show.
Right. It used to be all like NASA,
Totally. Yeah, it was like
the European Space Agency.
yeah, a handful of government agencies.
Yeah.
And now it's like all these private companies.
Yeah, it's like
Coming in
it
as-
feels like Silicon Valley is like
Yeah.
taking over space.
Yeah, and for good reason. I think they bring like a lot of
Yeah.
innovation, a lot of new ideas, a new perspective.
And new funding.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not beholden to like government budgets and stuff.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and I think they're also really pushing the boundaries of like what's possible in space.
Yeah, and the guide mentions like a bunch of companies that are really driving this change.
Oh yeah,
Like SpaceX,
of course.
Blue Origin, Rocket Lab.
Yes.
So, I guess like what sets these companies apart from like,
Okay.
the traditional players?
Yeah, it's a few things.
Okay.
One of them is like their whole approach is just different.
Mm-hmm.
They're very much like Silicon Valley, like
Okay.
move fast, break things, iterate.
Okay.
And that's kind of like shaking up the industry a bit.
Yeah.
And then also their technology is just like next level. I mean, like you take SpaceX, for example.
Yeah.
They're reusable rockets.
Oh my God, that is.
It's like a total game changer.
I can't even
Yeah.
wrap my head around it.
It's so cool.
It's so great.
Because like before you launch a rocket and then that's it.
Yeah, it's gone.
Like millions of dollars just like up in smoke, literally.
It's trash.
Yeah, and now they can land these things
Yeah?
back on like drone ships in the ocean.
Like, it's insane.
It's incredible. And then they can just like use it again.
Yeah. Which like drastically reduces the cost
Yeah.
of launching stuff into space.
Right. Like it used to cost like hundreds of millions of dollars to launch like a satellite.
Yeah.
And now it's like
A fraction of that.
way cheaper.
And that's what's really opening up the space industry to like smaller companies, to
Yeah.
startups,
Right.
to like even nations that like maybe couldn't afford it before.
Yeah.
It's really like democratizing access to space.
Right. It's not just for the superpowers anymore.
It's there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's not just reusable rockets though, right?
Right.
Like what other like technological advancements
Oh.
are we seeing in the space industry?
Satellite technology is just exploding right now.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody wants satellites these days.
Okay.
You've got like these mega constellations,
Okay.
like Starlink. You've probably heard of Starlink,
Oh yeah.
like from SpaceX.
Yeah.
And then there's like OneWeb,
Right.
and these are like literally thousands of satellites
Oh my God.
in low Earth orbit, like LEO they call it.
Leo. Okay.
And they're basically trying to provide internet coverage
Oh wow.
to like the entire globe.
So even if you're like
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
you can still like get on the internet.
Yeah, and like for a lot of people, that's going to be their first access to the internet ever.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then you've got like specialized satellites
Okay.
for like telecommunications and Earth observation. And these are usually in geostationary orbit.
Okay.
GEO.
GEO. Okay.
And those are the ones that like stay in the same spot
Oh, so that's what.
relative to the Earth.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why like you can point your satellite dish
Right, and it's always.
at the same spot and it always works.
Yeah.
And then the imaging technology is just like
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
That's a good word for it.
Like they have this thing called synthetic aperture radar,
Okay.
SAR.
SAR. What did that do?
So basically it can like take these super detailed pictures of the Earth,
Uh-huh.
but like regardless of the weather.
Oh wow.
So it doesn't matter if it's cloudy or if it's nighttime,
it can still see.
it can still see.
Wow. So like, is that what they use for like
Yeah.
Google Earth?
So they use it for like all sorts of things,
Oh, okay.
like climate monitoring, disaster response,
Oh wow.
even like military intelligence.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's,
And pretty powerful.
yeah, we're increasingly relying on like space technology.
Oh,
Yeah, for our daily lives.
yeah.
Um, okay, so speaking of like pushing the boundaries,
Yes.
the guide also mentions like this renewed interest in lunar
Oh, yeah.
and Martian exploration.
Everyone wants to go back to the moon
Yeah.
and to Mars.
So what's like driving?
Why now?
Yeah, why now?
Well, I think part of it is just like
Yeah.
the scientific curiosity.
Right.
Like we want to understand our
Mhm.
place in the universe. Like, are we alone?
Right.
You know, is there life out there?
Where are we along?
Yeah, exactly. Um, but there's also like a strategic element to it.
Okay.
Like if we can establish a presence on the moon or on Mars,
Yeah.
that gives us access to like valuable resources,
Okay.
like helium-3 on the moon,
Helium-3.
which is like this potential fuel for fusion energy.
Okay.
And then it could also be like a stepping stone for
Sure.
further exploration.
So the moon is like a base camp for Mars.
Exactly, yeah, like a way station.
Okay.
And then there's also like the economic opportunities, like space tourism,
Space tourism.
which is already starting to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like Virgin Galactic,
Oh, yeah.
Blue Origin.
Yeah.
They're already offering like suborbital flights
Wow. So you can like,
for like crazy rich people.
yeah,
But still,
go to space.
it's happening.
That's so
And
cool.
eventually, like,
Yeah.
you know, regular people will be able to afford it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of like
It should be awesome.
the specific like missions or programs that are in the works right now?
Okay, so NASA has this program called Artemis,
Artemis.
and that's all about like going back to the moon.
Okay.
But this time, it's not just like a flags and footprints mission.
Right.
It's about establishing a sustainable presence.
Okay. So they're going to like stay there.
Yeah, like building a base,
Wow.
doing research,
Cool.
and eventually like using the moon as a stepping stone to Mars.
Okay.
And then you've got SpaceX,
Yeah.
with their Starship,
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
which is like this massive rocket
Yeah.
that they're developing to like send people to Mars.
And like colonize it.
Yeah, and they're like not messing around. They want to like build a city on Mars.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's like their backup plan for humanity in case like
Yeah. In case the
just
Earth
something happens to Earth.
explodes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's so interesting.
I mean, it's a little bit crazy,
Yeah.
but also kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so these are all huge ventures.
Yeah.
Like
They're going to take a lot of resources.
they're going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where like
Yeah.
these emerging markets come in, like
Right.
asteroid mining,
Yes.
lunar resource extraction.
That's the future. Okay. So what's like
So basically,
the potential there?
we've been talking about like the moon and Mars as like
Yeah.
destinations,
Right.
but what if we think about them as like
Okay.
sources of resources?
Okay.
Like asteroids and the moon. They're full of stuff that's becoming like increasingly scarce on Earth.
Okay. Like what kind of stuff?
Like platinum,
Okay.
rare earth elements, helium-3 we talked about,
Yeah.
even water ice,
Oh, wow.
which you can break down into hydrogen and oxygen
Okay.
for rocket fuel.
Wow. So
You can like refuel your spacecraft in space.
So you don't have to bring all the fuel with you
Exactly.
from Earth.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, it's like
Bro.
the gold rush of the 1800s,
Okay.
but like in space.
Like a space gold rush.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty wild.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, with all of this activity,
Yeah.
you know, in space,
It's getting crowded up there.
it's getting crowded.
Yeah.
Like, what about the environmental impact?
That's a good question.
Yeah, the guide mentions the importance of like sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability in space is becoming like a really big deal.
Okay, so like what are some of the
So one of the biggest concerns
Yeah.
is space debris.
Okay, what is that?
It's basically like junk
Okay.
that's left over from old satellites
Mhm.
and rockets.
Okay.
And it's just like floating around up there.
And that's bad because
It's bad because it can collide
Yeah.
with active spacecraft.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine if like a tiny piece of debris
Yeah,
hit the International Space Station.
that would be really bad.
Yeah, that would be catastrophic.
Okay.
So organizations like UNOSA,
Musa.
the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs,
Okay.
they're trying to establish like international guidelines
Okay.
for responsible space behavior, like
Okay.
how to mitigate debris.
Right.
And then there's also a push towards developing like more eco-friendly spacecraft
Sure.
and propulsion systems.
Right.
So like using less fuel,
Yeah.
producing less waste,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
things like that.
Right. So it's really like a whole ecosystem
Yeah.
that we have to think about.
It's like a whole new frontier,
Yeah.
but it comes with its own set of challenges.
Right. And I guess with all of these different players
Yeah.
and all of these different interests,
There's definitely
there's a lot of like
collaboration,
collaboration.
but also competition.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, you have like the International Space Station,
Yeah.
which is like this amazing example of international cooperation.
Right.
Like all these countries working together
Yeah.
to build this incredible thing in space.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand,
Yeah.
you've got like this,
Competition?
yeah, like a space race.
Yeah, a new space race
Yes.
between like the US,
Mm-hmm.
China,
Right.
India,
Yeah, they're all like,
all vying for like
Yes.
supremacy in space.
yeah, dominance.
Yeah.
Okay, so like,
But, competition can be a good thing.
right, it drives innovation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It pushes everybody to be better.
Yeah. So what does all this mean for like
Okay.
someone like you listening to this?
Yeah.
Like, why should you care about any of it? Well, first of all, it's just cool.
It is cool.
Like, space is cool.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
Yeah.
the space industry is like creating all these amazing technologies that
Yeah.
are going to have a huge impact on our lives.
Um,
Like, even if you never go to space,
right.
you're going to benefit from it.
Okay. That was
Like, for example, GPS.
right.
That came from space.
Yeah.
Weather forecasting, telecommunications,
Yeah.
all of that stuff relies on satellites.
Okay.
And then, like, the materials that they're developing for spacecraft
Yeah.
are finding applications in all sorts of fields,
Okay.
like medicine, transportation,
Mm-hmm.
energy. So, like, it's really pushing the boundaries of, like, material science.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So even if you're not like
Yeah.
an astronaut or a rocket scientist,
Right.
like there's still a lot of
You can still be involved.
opportunities to like
Yeah.
work in the space industry.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So like what are
And it's only going to get bigger.
some of those opportunities?
Okay, so if you're into engineering,
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge demand for people who can design and build spacecraft.
Okay.
Like propulsion systems,
Yeah.
life support systems,
Mm.
robotics,
Okay.
software, all that stuff. And then if you're more into like science communication
Yeah.
or marketing,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a real need to like explain all this cool stuff to the public.
Right.
To get people excited about space.
Yeah. And to get people to like support
Yeah, exactly.
space exploration.
Like we need more people who can like tell the story of space.
Yeah. Make it accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's tons of opportunities.
So basically what you're saying is
Yeah.
no matter what you're interested in,
Yeah.
like there's probably a way.
If you're passionate about space,
Yeah.
you can find a way to be involved.
To get involved.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a really exciting time.
That is super exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think?
I think I need to go like
Yeah.
reassess my career choices.
Yeah.
And like,
It's never too late
yeah.
to like pivot into space.
Wow. Okay. So space is cool.
Space is cool.
There's a lot happening.
a lot happening.
There's a lot of opportunity.
A lot of opportunity.
And it's all like happening really fast.
Super fast.
So with space like becoming more accessible
yeah.
than ever.
Like what role do you see yourself playing?
Yeah. What role do you see yourself playing in all of this?
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Yeah, this was fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Me too.
Cool.
Good.